Hi. Wanted to talk a little about the video before it plays. I was a little nervous about my idea because I didn't really feel like I was educating anybody about anything. But I was really into the idea because one of my favorite ways to get to know a person is just to sit down and talk and hear. It's my kitty. And just kind of hear, the stories they have to tell. I think maybe that stemmed from hearing my parents tell me stories as a kid. But yeah, so kind of why I did it, I think it's really interesting to hear how being queer has affected these artists growing up. And not that I have a huge different age range, but a little big. My coworker, they're 31, so I feel like that's significant. Yeah, a little disclaimer, first time interviewing people, it's absolutely not perfect. I use, I affirm people a lot when I'm speaking to them, so saying and agreeing, like that type of stuff, and I definitely do it a lot in the video, unfortunately. It's a little annoying, and I laugh a lot too. It bugged me a lot, so that's a little disclaimer. I absolutely know it's not perfect. Stop me. Oh my god, Phoebe. So, yeah, there's, also my dad kind of went in to grab his keys in the interview with my neighbor, David. Not perfect, absolutely not perfect, but I really love how it turned out, so I hope you all will enjoy it too.
So I'm David. I'm a gay man. My pronouns are he and him. I'm 23.
So my name is Sky. I'm 19. Pronouns be, she, her, they, them, and I identify as queer.
My name is Colby Williams. I'm 31 years old, and my preferred pronouns are they, them, and my sexuality is probably best described as androsexual, mostly gay. I just kind of identify as queer.
Karen Davis, 21 years old, uses she, her pronouns, sexuality is pansexual.
For me, it was kind of a longer process. I didn't really fully know until I was around 16, 17. Before then, I had a few small things that were just, kind of weird things that didn't line up with everyone else, but I didn't think too much about it.
That one's kind of tough. I feel like a lot of people are like, at age 4, I had this happen and I realized, but I think especially growing up here, with the culture being different, it was like a slow progress of things, but I think probably the most happened when I was 17, graduating high school age, because I moved out of state and I kind of met some people that made me feel comfortable to explore that kind of thing. So probably my senior year of high school.
I want to say 8 or 9. I always joke, but I'm being completely serious when I've kind of known since Aladdin was my first crush.
I remember in preschool I had a girlfriend and we kissed a few times. I remember she was blonde and always wore Barney overalls. Never really thought of it in any way, because I was so young. I remember her specifically telling me it's a big secret though.
I know there's one memory in particular. When I was in middle school, I remember some of my friends would always point out the girls that they thought were cute or whatever, and I'd always I never noticed girls, and so I'd make an effort to okay, tomorrow I'm gonna notice 3 different girls. And I get to the end of the day and be like, shoot, I forgot to look. And so it just kind of, it was just a small step of me not really understanding what was going on, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was just trying to fit in, but looking back at it now, I can, it makes a lot more sense.
So, again, the whole like best friend thing.
Yeah.
I had a really good friend when I was around 14, like middle school, like high school age. And I remember her being one of the only first people that I was able to talk about that kind of stuff with. And we used to go camping a lot with her family. And I remember one time we just spent like the entire night in the tent, like talking about that kind of stuff. And it was the first time that I ever was able to talk with someone about it. And it was kind of weird because it was like, people talk about these things. But yeah, it was the first time I felt like I could able like breathe while talking about it with someone. So
I moved around a lot when I was a kid, so I was kind of the new kid, so I always kind of had that like othering applied to me. But when I made friends, it would usually be I'd have more friends that were girls than boys, and everyone was always like, "Oh, is she your girlfriend?" And and I was just like, "Why no?" So it was always kind of just like this process of just kind of realizing that I always knew I was queer.
I feel like my entire high school and junior high school career, I exclusively dated non-binary people or women because I've always been very curious of cis men, I guess is the best word. I had my first boyfriend at the age of 18 and my first girlfriend at the age of 5. It took a lot for me to really express my feelings or even come out. I still keep my sexuality very hidden. Most of my girlfriends, my family knew I was dating them, but I always showed them off to be my best friend, particularly because I feel like my family had sort of shunned it when I tried coming out. It's a lot of emotional waves I try to keep to myself. I still work on it every day, accepting myself for who I am, and loving and growing to know it's okay to be gay. I grew up in a very religious LDS household, went to church every Sunday, was involved with every young woman's activity, so it's been a ride accepting myself for who I am. I remember on my 15th birthday, one of these girls I had a giant crush on asked me to be her girlfriend with cupcakes, and I remember how excited I was to finally be dating her. I felt really comfortable in my sexuality at that time, and I was very unsure of it as a child because some of my family is homophobic, very judgmental, or said it was a phase. I feel like pansexuality or bisexuality is constantly shunned, or people think it's a phase. I don't like that stereotype.
I mainly do digital art right now. Sometimes I work with ink, but I don't know. Throughout my life, I've worked through a lot of different mediums, whether it's photography or paint or just whatever. But so far, I think digital art is definitely my favorite. It just allowed me to kind of express myself in ways I haven't been able to before and do things I haven't been able to, so it's been a lot of fun.
So I'm currently applying to go to fashion school, so I really want to be like a haute couture fashion designer, so yeah.
Mostly a writer. I've dabbled with like musical theater and stuff, of course, in high school, but I didn't really stick with it. My sister kind of took that over. So I write mostly, at least historically since I was like a kid, mostly like fantasy novels, things like that, and kind of hoping to move post my college experience, move into more academic writing, talking about like social justice and things like that.
I take photos and I really enjoy writing poetry during my free time.
So far, everything has been very positive. I've met a lot of LGBT artists, and I don't know, it's such a tight-knit community, I feel like, especially in the digital world. You get to meet a lot of people you wouldn't normally and connect with a lot of people, and so it's fun to kind of, we're all kind of similar, but see how our art carries us different places and just the different ways we find to express ourselves, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I personally think that like dress and the way that you express yourself through your clothes has a lot to do with sexuality and like gender identity, and I think for me especially, a lot of the clothes that I like to design are very androgynous and have to do with like gender bending, and I truly don't think that like women's and men's clothes like should exist. Like it really doesn't make sense to me, but that really has to do a lot with it, because like I feel like when you're able to wear the clothes that make you feel at home in your body, then you can really then begin to express yourself the way that you feel like you are.
I have to say it hasn't hindered me at all quite yet. I mean, like, AMAB queers have always kind of been out there, like, doing art, so I don't think I'm specifically excluded. I've ever been specifically excluded. As far as, like, you know, in my writing when I was younger, I was always afraid of, you know, even though I wrote, like, a whole little fantasy series when I was, like, 14, I was afraid of having queer characters because I was afraid of, like, you know, even though my parents knew, like, I didn't want them to be like, oh, you're never going to get that published or whatever. So I didn't start even adding queer characters until I was more like 17, 18, 19. And then like currently I'm kind of in between working on homework. Of course, we all know school takes over our whole lives. I'm working on either an epic or a small series that one of the main characters is non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. So I really want to do that because there's really nothing like that out there right now that I really found. So I'm really excited about that.
I've actually never really thought of this question. I don't think I've ever run into this problem negatively, only positive. I think maybe the only way it's affected me is to accept everyone and anyone. I would say my sexuality has let me meet other artists who confirm as non-binary, genderqueer, gay, lesbian, bisexual, anyone. I keep my photography exclusively inclusive. My main goal is for everyone to have a fun time and feel as beautiful as they ever thought they were.